We recently had a discussion about whether or not the solar motor would actually, well, work. I just hate it when I buy something and it doesn't work. I desperately need and appreciate this kind of feedback. As you'll soon see, I hope, this can save money on the restoration and withful. Are you and Ben still working on this? In this, I think we, or at least I, needed a do-over of fifth grade science. I think it was in fifth grade in Nares that I first heard about the empirical method. A good illustration of this is Aristotle's confident assertion that a 2-pound object falls twice as fast as a 1-pound object, ignoring air resistance. It makes sense, right? People believed this for about 2,000 years until that crazy Italian Galileo proved him wrong by actually dropping different weights off of the Tower of Pisa. In discussing the solar motor, we both put forth ideas about whether or not the one-way check valve would or could ever actually open because, as you pointed out, the pressure to the right of the check valve in this example always seems to be higher than the pressure to the left of it. Aristotle lives. We, or at least I, did this, the patent application, with pencil, paper, and PowerPoint. I was basically speculating, as did Aristotle, without empirical proof. So I channeled Galileo and actually tried it. Here's my Tower of Pisa. Having zero budget for research and development, my lab is well equipped with only the finest test equipment from Harbor Freight and Dollar Tree. Harbor Freight has a beautiful little siphon pump. That pump is $5.99, but the clerk had a coupon that she shared, so it was only about $4.50. I thank God for all of the details. This detail is very important, as you'll soon see. With this, by the grace of God, we make history and help heat and cool the house in Withful, Clemens too. That pump has two clear vinyl tubes and a squeeze bulb. Inside the bulb is a one-way check valve. It is the solar motor, except that the two tubes are separated. It is easily tested. You blow in one tube, all the air comes out the other tube. If you blow on that tube, no air moves. It's a one-way check valve. I joined the two tubes with a brass coupler or an inline splicer. But I took this picture before I did. I filled the upper tube from the top with water colored with blue food coloring. You can see the operation of the check valve. There is no blue water below the bulb and valve. I then poured more blue water into the lower part of the loop through the brass coupler and joined them. Those brass barb couplers work really well and are exceedingly air and watertight. There were a few air bubbles. I verified the operation by squeezing and releasing the bulb. What do you think happened? You had earlier written, the challenge is that the pressure on the red side will always be higher. There is therefore no way that the fluid can push through the little trap door going from left to right.
Squeeze, release, 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 squeeze, release.
As you can see, the blue working fluid in this demo travels counterclockwise. It always flows every time I squeeze the bulb and never flows backward clockwise in this example. There are air bubbles in it, which I don't think affects its operation. In fact, you can see them move as well, always counterclockwise. The patent application uses the word fluid 486 times, which includes liquid, gas, or a mixture of both. It's a one-way anti-backflow check valve, limiting the fluid flow to a single direction. As long as I squeeze, every time I squeeze, it moves the working fluid within the continuous loop. Your thoughts? For the solar motor, we are not increasing pressure by squeezing a bulb, but rather by the sun heating and expanding the portion of the working fluid trapped between the one-way check valve and the pressure relief valve, but it has the same effect and result. Your statement still makes a lot of sense. The challenge is that the pressure on the red side will always be higher. There is therefore no way that the fluid can push through the little trap door going from left to right. I do not argue that. In fact, I'll say that I'm not exactly sure how and why the Harbor Freight demo works, but I do not deny that it does work or that the concept will power the solar motor. Call me a pragmatist. By the way, did you know that despite siphons being used by ancient Egyptians, there is still no satisfactory explanation as to how they work? The principles? Therein lies opportunity, writ large, but for another day. I spend too much time on my computer. Shortly, I'll tell you how we can use this in Withville, Clemens, and Irmo to both heat and cool our homes. But first, your thoughts? If you agree, then I believe that there was never an investment that yielded a higher return than the $4.50 at Harbor Freight. It demonstrates two things: a new way to generate electricity from solar power alone that consumes no fuel and produces no pollution or greenhouse gases, and a new way to help heat and cool our homes, again without consuming any fuel, fossil, bio, nuclear, or otherwise. In my opinion, it will be one of the most valuable patents ever issued. More to follow. P.S. Even if I have missed something above, the patent, which is 23 pages long, includes the word reservoir 38 times and the word accumulator 31 times. This should take up any slack. You'll find the link to the patent itself right there.